Welcome and thanks everybody for tuning in again. My name is Christian Plaichner, Chief Customer Experience Officer at Tricentis, and today we want to talk about leading continuous testing into the new normal. And today with us is Alex, Portfolio Test Director at ANZ Bank. Australian and New Zealand Banking Group provides banking and financial services in Australia, New Zealand, APAC, Europe, and the Americas. So Alex, very excited to have you. Thanks very much for joining. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you, Christian. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. So I thought let's start with telling everybody out there about your role and responsibilities in ANZ Bank.
Okay. So as you mentioned, I head up all the testing and environments across group payments and payments of merchants for ANZ Bank. So my charter is pretty much to ensure we're able to deliver quality solutions that meets our internal and external stakeholders with minimal disruption to their ability to work. And by work, being able to deliver solutions internally as fast as possible, but also no impact to our clients being able to use our services.
Makes total sense. Perfect. So let's get right to it. Last year, at the user conference, you said non-financial institutions are now managing payments. So we need, as a bank, become more agile to keep up the pace. So looking back on the beginning of the year, right, everything changed this year with the global pandemic. And I was wondering, how did your organization react to it? And also how your plans have changed based on this pandemic?
Yeah, it was very, very interesting year. I've been working from home since March. So I haven't been in the office or had any face-to-face connection with any of my people, which makes it extremely challenging. So we went through a whole workforce strategy restructure. So there's no one in the office in any of the countries we work in. So I've got resources based in India, Australia, New Zealand, and China, and Singapore. The China and New Zealand guys are now back in the office, but the teams in India and Australia are all working from home. So the mentality of how agile teams works has changed dramatically. So co-location is now being proven that it's not required to be able to continue to deliver the solutions. What becomes more challenging was the fact that working from home, a lot of meetings, which did impact delivery. So, we made a concerted effort to ensure that there wasn't meetings for meeting's sake to enable people to continue to deliver their outcomes. But what was a little bit more challenging was our strategic initiatives. So it's a lot harder to bring people onto the journey if you don't have the town halls or face meetings to walk through why we're changing the way we want to work and how we're going to get there. So that took us a little bit of time to bring everybody onto the journey, especially because the team is so dispersed across squads. Their focus is on the delivery of the squad sprint. So we did change the norm of how we work, but our objectives and our initiatives for where we want to get to haven't changed. They have slowed down a little bit, and that was expected because the mode of operation has changed. But what we found is, after the slowish commencement of the activity, we're actually continuing to hit some of these initiatives and hitting our targets to enable us to meet where we want to go as an organisation. So definitely more challenging, but it has changed the way we worked this year, and it will definitely change the way we think about working moving forward. And we have seen some benefits out of it as well, Christian. So historically, we used to say everybody had to be based in Bangalore or had to be based in an ANZ office or in a partner office. But what we're finding now is they don't. So it does enable us now to increase the geographic area of resources. So we're able to pick up potentially better quality resources who may not have necessarily been in our core geographic locations previously. But it is a lot more challenging. The onboarding, the training, the education has changed, and we have found mechanisms for how we get that to work. So we have built core groups or chapter leads. We have leadership meetings, and in my leadership meetings, I extended that to other members of my team who are in squad, so they can understand where we want to get to as an organisation. We also, very mindful of our staff's mental, physical, emotional, psychological health. So we spend a lot more time talking to them, just bring them up, how you going, how you feeling, because they are, locked away and they are working at home and they are surrounded by family. They may not have an office at home, so they're working on kitchen desks. So we do spend a lot of time in making sure our people are physically, mentally, and emotionally still with us. Because it is, in the office, you see someone and you can notice maybe their behaviour or demeanour has changed, so you can address it at that point. Whereas when people are working from home, you haven't got that connection. So we've had to find mechanisms to continue to support our staff, continue to help them grow and learn, because we are a learning organisation, whilst continuing to ensure we deliver. The other issue we had was, and as you're probably aware, when your laptop's at home, you're potentially working 24/7. Because you pop past your laptop and you log in, have a bit of a look. So very mindful to tell people that your work day is still your work day, your personal time is still your personal time. Don't feel that you need to do 12, 16-hour days. You'd still do an 8-hour day. But that 8-hour day could be, 3 hours in the morning, and then you have time in after that to, look after the family, homeschooling, and then you can come on and continue to work. So ANZ as a company has been extremely flexible in supporting their people during this time. And we have seen some very positive results in our delivery cadence and our continual ability to strategize and I suppose transform the way we work and how we want to work moving forward.
I know you already have a highly automated environment when it comes to testing and integrated into the CICD chain. So I'm wondering where you are along this journey and what's up next.
Yeah, so we've pushed very heavily into a shift left mentality within the organisation, or within my space, I should say. So over the last 12 months, we've driven very heavily on the automation first principle to enable us to be able to integrate into a CICD pipeline. And where we want to really get to over the next 6 to 9 months is a fully automated CICD, CT, CE. And that means having a continuous test environments and testing activities that feed into the DevOps pipeline. The aim will be for us to be able to press a button and automatically deploy code, have it ready to go, spin up a virtual environment, understand what's changed from a feature, function, or line of code, extract the test cases that align to that, automatically execute them, automatically validate, and then determine whether we have a pass or fail. If it's a fail, it'll go back to the developer and we spin everything down. So we take away the wastage of the environments. If it passes, we then spin up the next environment that's more integrated and run the next suite of test cases automatically and continue so on as we move towards heading into a production deployment.
Makes total sense. And I mean, that brings me to the next topic, right? Everybody is talking about cloud. And I had recently a discussion with somebody in Europe who says, banking in a container. So I'm wondering where you are on the microservice container cloud strategy. What's the plan on the on ANZ?
Yep. Okay. So once again, I won't speak for the whole of ANZ, but there is a definite drive towards cloud and moving a lot of the kit onto cloud. Within my space, we have a level of complexity. So we have a lot of vendor provided products, as well as a lot of in-house. So we're moving a lot more into in-house development within group payments and merchants. Mm-hmm. Similarly to a test first approach, automation first approach, we are now looking at anything we build internal, build it for the cloud. So the aim will be to start moving services and functions of our solution into the cloud. The complexity we do have is off-the-shelf products, vendor-provided products are going to be a lot harder to move into a cloud solution, as well as we have a lot of integrations with a lot of our back-end systems, which are 30-plus-year-old solutions built with COBOL on mainframe. So you still need to understand that a lot of those solutions probably will struggle to get to the cloud. and moving the other components to the cloud, how will the latency be between cloud and on-house tin? So we're working through a lot of that activity, but cloud is definitely on the agenda. So we are looking at, being able to spin up environments into the cloud, being able to hold our services into the cloud, and building a capability to enable us to validate the solutions when they're sitting on cloud, especially around the non-functional components of that.
Makes total sense. And thinking about the other trend that we see in the industry, AI, machine learning, this is on the table, or this is not on the table yet?
Definitely on my roadmap, and definitely an activity where we've got to focus on. And what we're trying to do, to be able to go to AI and machine learning, there's a lot of activities you've got to get right. And I spoke about the car last year, and the car still stays fair, right? So there's no point going, we're going to invest a heap into machine learning and AI if you haven't got the fundamentals, there. So the chassis is not there. So there's no point putting on a sunroof if you haven't got the pillars to hold the roof up in the first place. So, part of this journey for me is, a fully traceable end-to-end solution. So, we use Jira to hold our stories, our requirements. We've got Tosca, which holds all our test cases. And now we're currently deploying Qtest as our conduit between the two. And that'll give us the traceability. And that'll enable us to start learning more about, if something changes, what needs to execute, and start capturing that data to understand it better. And that'll enable us to go away from people deciding what needs to run and letting the machine know that if you change this is what we run historically, so let's extract that automatically and run it. So a lot of the machine learning and AI is around the data collection and understanding your data. So we're spending a lot of time on data collection, on insights, understanding why are we finding so many defects later in the cycle, and why aren't we finding them earlier? What are we missing? What aren't we doing? Doing properly? How do we validate that the machine should know what needs to run, as opposed to a person? Unfortunately, people make mistakes. So we need to get away from having central point and experts of doing this and having the machine know what needs to run. So it is definitely on the journey, and it's definitely on our strategic roadmap for the next 12 months to build the capability. And as I said earlier, get to a fully automated CICD, CTCE, where the machine knows what it needs to run. So we should be able to trigger that says, historically, you change these function, these are the test cases that need to run. So no point in having someone pull them out. Just let them extract automatically, run automatically, and validate automatically. And that's going to be our first step around the AI and machine learning component within our strategy. And if we can prove that works, that'll definitely speed up our ability to build, validate, and deploy into production. But like most things around AI and machine learning, it is such I won't say grey and fuzzy area, but your stakeholders in a highly regulated environment like banking get worried if their SME expert, propeller head, the guy who knows everything about that asset doesn't do the work or tick it off. And there are a significant amount of changes that we do which have minimal impact, that we actually go through a massive validation process, because we've never had that machine learning capability that says, well, we know you change this, or you change this configuration, this is all you need to validate. We go through a massive validation regression cycle before sticking it into production. So the journey is going to be not only building the capability, but getting the comfort factor from our stakeholders to be comfortable that what we're doing automatically meets their needs and protects them from any of the regulators when we deploy something into production.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Hey, one last thing. We have a lot of quality leaders out there who are listening to us today. So I was wondering, what's your recommendation? What's the magic sauce everybody should do in 2021 to be successful when it comes to continuous testing?
That's a hard one, right? A lot of industries have a lot of different thoughts in regards to this. So from my perspective, and my tune never changes, right? It's always, don't get comfortable where you are today. Always look to innovate, always look to change, always look to enhance. And we've got a lot of really, really good people who do a lot of mundane, repetitive tasks that we could use their skills and expertise to evolve the organisation. So from a quality perspective, firm believer that stay ahead of the game. You know, testing has always been the tail. Quality engineering should be the head. Drive the change. Disrupt your business. Don't be scared to disrupt your business. The 10% process improvement, quality improvement you might implement will give you a short-term win, but that's not going to give you what you need to get ahead of the game. To compete with all the new players in the financial industry, and a lot of them are non-bank organisations, we need to work out how we can disrupt the way we do our work. And a lot of that is going to be around how fast we can deliver quality solutions into production. And therefore, you need to have a shift left and a shift right mentality. By that, shift left is build quality production solutions as fast as you can. The shift right is have the continuous testing approach, which allows you to validate hourly, daily, or weekly to let your stakeholders determine when they want to deploy into production with a level of comfort that you won't break production. So you've got to have the two-set mindset. Get the back end work, the back end being the shift left, get that with their mindset that they need to build, irrespective of how long their sprint is, a production-ready solution. The shift right is having the capability to have a continuous testing flow that protects your production solution. So be able to validate what's been provided by a squad. And as I said, I've got 50 squads in my space. So, we've got to get a lot of change coming at different time frames. So I need to have a mechanism that allows me to validate each sprint. And if I can validate that on a daily basis, I give my stakeholders, being my boss and all our business internal stakeholders, the capability to then determine to deploy as fast as possible, and not in a 12-week release, 6-month release, 12-month release. And that's what you need to have your mindset. And you need to, I spoke about the car last year. We're now moved away from a car into Formula One.
Yeah.
I need to be able to change those tyres so fast to enable my guys to know they can make a full circuit and win the race without the car falling apart. So my mindset is twofold. You make sure, from a shift left perspective, the tyres have been built, and we know the tyres are made of rubber, and they can handle so much heat and they can handle so many laps. I also need to be able to validate that once we put those tyres on the car, I can go around that track 100 times and win that race. And I need to be able to do that 100 times in the shortest possible time to beat my competitors in market. So always think about the evolution, always think about the end goal, and think about what we can continue to improve, and that'll be people, process, tools to get that right outcome. Always think about, I sit there and tell my people, we are a changing organisation. We have to change at the drop of a hat. What was flavour of the month last week may not be flavour of the month next week. So always continue thinking about evolution, think about a fast fail mentality, and think about change that will give me 10-time improvement, and I don't care about disruption. So any opportunity, innovation, thought leadership gets put onto the table by any one of my team. I don't care if they're a out of uni person or someone with 15, 20, 30 years experience. They don't have to be in my LT. Every idea is a good idea. We put it into our innovation cycle. We shake it around. If we see it being a feasible opportunity, I'd like to do a PAC within 2 to 4 weeks with a fast fail mentality, understand the benefit of the outcome. And if we like it, we go hard with it. And we have our guys learn and run these initiatives. If we don't do that, we'll be left behind, not just by our current financial institution competitors, the other banks, but also by all the new players. So evolution of what we do, change. Don't be scared to change is my number one mantra for anyone in this business, and get ahead of the game. Be an engineering division. Don't be the tail. Drive what you want the developers and the other engineers to do. Drive how you want the outcome, and you'll start getting some really good buy-in in how designs are made, the architectural pictures, and you start thinking even back to an old test first mentality. I want our guys to start building pseudocode to shake out that design and development aspects. So don't be scared to disrupt how you work today to get the outcome you want for tomorrow, will be my message.
Awesome. I mean, really perfect finishing sentence, so to speak, right? I think that's where everybody out there, when it comes to QA, have to get more comfortable about disrupting and looking at things differently. So Alex, thanks very much for joining us. Really, really fantastic and very helpful to give us insights about what's going on at ANZ. Thank you very much. Be safe and take care, my friend.
Thank you, Christian. Appreciate the time and always love having a chat with you.
Awesome.